Good afternoon, everybody. It's wonderful to see all of you. I know I've been away from you for a while. I'm sure you have a lot of questions. There's been a lot of things in the course of the last 2.5 weeks that I'm sure you want to ask me, but we're going to start with signing day, obviously. It's a monumental day for Gopher football. That's the way I'll describe it. I'll talk to you a little bit later about why I actually say that. I want to start with a few thank yous. I want to thank my wife, Heather, for all that she does for our entire family, for putting up with me for the last 2.5 weeks with pretty much no sleep. And just being there for our children and just being an incredible wife that you are and my rock. And I want to thank Mark Coyle, our athletic director, and President Kaler, and the Board of Regents. The reason why I want to thank them is because you all don't know me very well yet, but you're going to get to know me pretty quickly. I'm living my dream right now. Like, it's amazing that you actually get to be able to get to your dream, but then when you're actually living it every single day, it's very special. And there's not a day that I actually go to work, which is pretty special. I go do something that I absolutely love at the highest level I could ever dream of having, ever since I was a kid. So that is what I'm providing for not only the Twin Cities, but the University of Minnesota and the state of Minnesota, the University of Minnesota and the state of Minnesota, and Gophers all over the country is my dream every single day. And I've committed 100% to that every single day to make the University of Minnesota something that it's always dreamed of becoming, a constant, consistent champion, and truly dedicated in doing that. And it starts with recruiting, and that's why it's a monumental day. I want to thank all of our fans. It's been absolutely awesome, absolutely elite. The last few days, throughout the last 2.5, 3 weeks, everybody's been incredibly gracious. Of course, are all those the naysayers at times? You bet. That's anywhere you go, right? We went 13-1. We still had naysayers at Western Michigan University, so I'm used to that. But the fans have been incredibly warm to me. They've been open, with open arms, and I just want to say thank you to all of our fans out there. And as we go through the next 4 or 5 years together, I think you're really, really going to enjoy what you see on the field. Not only that, I think you're really going to love the process of it actually happening, because you're going to be very involved in it. And I'm going to make sure you're very involved in it. I want to thank our staff. Our staff is, I think, the most elite staff in America. A lot of you are getting a chance to get to know them and get a chance to meet them here coming up. I really mean that. And why I say that is because guys like Mo Lindquist, you know, Mo's got a wife at home that's 8.5, 9 months now pregnant. So we should be having a new Gopher here any minute. Stacy actually just got out here last week, and she's ready to go. But giving up that time with your family right after a season when you should be enjoying them, you should be given a break. You don't. You get to a new job. You hit it running. You're not only doing that, but you're going out recruiting. You're leaving your home. You're finding a new home. Incredibly stressful time, okay, for our coaching staff. And the way they were able to lock in and create, I think, an elite recruiting class with the 2.5 weeks that we were provided is a credit to all of them and their entire families. Well, the first 3 weeks, I said it earlier, I'd kind of describe it as drinking water out of a fire hose, because you just never stop. You've got 5 or 6 in-state commits that are 100% to you, and it shows the power of Minnesota, and it shows the commitment level of Minnesota players, that they want to stay home at their university. And then from there, they had to find 19 other players. And brought some from Western Michigan, looked all over the country, looked within our 6-7 hour radius, and I thought we did a tremendous job finding the most elite talent, not necessarily skill, but talent. All right, talent, skill, plus your heart, your spirit, your soul, the inside, right, your how. I thought did a tremendous job of finding our types of players. But now I'm back. I'm back into the community. I look forward to getting to know all of our media on more of a personal level, our fans on more of a personal level, our alumni, our student body, and everybody within the Twin Cities and the state of Minnesota. And, like I said, especially our fans. So look forward to doing that. I will say this right now, I think, is the time to invest. I say that a lot. I said that at my previous stop. Now's the time to invest. I kind of look at it as a little bit of a stock market. I'm not here to change tradition. I've said that before. I'm not here to change tradition. I'm here to change a culture. Now, what a culture to me means is connecting people. It's not here to say what was here was bad. It was phenomenal. Won 9 games. But in terms of a consistent culture, when I got hired, was to do what I know how to do. And that's all that I can control every single day, and I'll continue to control that. But the time is now to invest into the time, into the energy, into the process of Gopher football. I think we did an elite job, I will say that, of hitting our recruiting points in terms of looking at our 6 to 7 hour radius, finding the right type of talent, and going out there and getting it. And getting kids locked up securing them. We didn't have any surprises. Might have been some surprises to you, no surprises to us. And then obviously no surprises either way. And it was one of those signing days that we got to at the former place I was at where it kind of went by 9-10. It was over. It was done with. And we were on our way working on 2018 already. So with that, I'm going to give you a few stats about the actual class, and then I'll open up for some questions. I'll comment on each player very briefly. To give you a background, the programs that you got are in alphabetical order. I have them more in positional order so we can talk about specifics and what needs we had at that position and why we actually recruited those players. Out of the 25 commits, 3 started early, and we covered 14 states. If you add up the record of these players, it's 214 and 72. That's around a 75% winning percentage. We're bringing winners into the program. To have consistent championships, they've got to know how to win, and they got to be a winner before they can actually become a winner. 5 state champions, multiple players that actually went to a state championship, 13 all-state players that are either juniors or seniors, 11 players that are over 6'4" or taller, and then 223 pounds is the average weight of our class. But most important, these are Gophers. Okay, these are those guys I talked about. That word how, you're going to hear a lot from me with our time together. That is something you cannot measure with a measuring stick. That talks about your heart, your spirit, your soul, your unconquerable will to be the best at anything that you do. Athletically, academically, socially, and spiritually, these players have that type of mindset. All 4 of those areas of their life are important to them. And that's why I'm so happy that these guys are here. All right. Let's talk a little bit about them. Let's start with the offensive line. You got to have an elite line to be successful, especially in the Big Ten. I think the people that are at the top of the Big Ten, they have one of the most elite offensive lines. So that was a focus for us. We're only going to have, I think, six offensive linemen healthy for spring ball. We had a total of 19 surgeries in the offseason. 19. That's a lot. Okay, that's a lot. It's way more accustomed to what I'm used to. 19's a lot. So we have to be able to fix some things in a lot of different areas that way. That's not necessarily broken, just needs to be tweaked. We're one of the best strength coaches in America, and he will definitely do that. A lot of them were on the offensive line. So let's go ahead and start with this. Blaze Andrews, a lot of you know him from Marshall High School, from Marshall, Minnesota, coached by Terry Ballman, All-State first team, number 1 recruit in the state of Minnesota. We want to keep our Minnesota players here, period. I think we've said that numerous times. Number 29 offensive tackle in the country. He's a 4.0 student, and I didn't get to know him very long. We recruited him at my former stop, and then, boom, that was over probably within a week or two because he had 20-some offers from all over the country. But I will say this. I've never had a student actually tell me, since 7th grade, Coach, I wanted to be a blank. I'll leave that open for all of you. You think, fireman, right? Police officer, doctor, coach, probably not. NFL football player, he said an actuary. I don't even know what an actuary was until he actually started talking to me. You're talking about a guy way smarter than me. 4.0 student, Joe and Helen, his mom and dad. I mean, many offers from all over the country, but decided to stay in state. Not only did one of the best offensive linemen decide to stay in state, he decided to stay in state through a coaching change, which is very difficult. Change is hard for everybody, and he decided to stay. 3-sport athlete, which is very, very important to us as we move forward. We're going to recruit 3-sport athletes. This sport-specific type player, not to say we won't take them, but the focus is going to be multi-sport athletes, and that's what I was. That's what I'm about. I want to see our players compete in multiple different sports as they continue to go, but we're extremely, extremely pleased to have Blaze with us. This guy's just an incredible athlete for being as big as he is, and I know the Schwann company is very excited about having one of their own. His mom, Helen, works for Schwann, so I know that we're very happy. They're very happy to have him here in the state of Minnesota. Next, Kyle Sasick, offensive line, 6'7", 270 pounds, from Notre Dame Prep in Pontiac, Michigan, coached by Pat Fox. This is somebody we brought over and offered when we got here that was already committed to Western Michigan University. Associated Press All-State team twice, ranked as the number 2 offensive tackle in the state of Michigan, and Scout ranked him as the number 77 recruit in the Midwest. This kid is extremely smart, long. If you look at him, you wouldn't necessarily think he's 275, 280 pounds. He holds his weight really well, which means this kid's going to grow to about 310. Incredibly athletic, phenomenal basketball player. He'll tell you he's more of a defender than a shooter. He's probably right. He's got 2 brothers, and they both play. One played college football, one played college basketball, one sister that's playing volleyball. His doctor, or his dad's a dentist. Incredible family. We've known them for a very long time. You talk about a true definition of a student athlete coming to represent the University of Minnesota, and Kyle Sasek. Next, John Michael Schmitz, offensive line, 6'4", 285 pounds, from Homewood Flossmoor High School in Flossmoor, Illinois, coached by Craig Buzia. And I will say this, is that we knew this kid right out the gate. He is ranked as the #1 center in the Midwest, and I see why. He's not going to blow you away in terms of by height. He's not 6'6", he's not 6'5", but this kid is one of the toughest football players you will ever be around. We loved him at camp. We tested him in all areas at camp. Test his inside, not just through the watch and the strength. We tested his inside. This is one of the tougher football players I've been around in my 4 years of being a head football coach. He's a Southsider from Chicago, loves football, and Mom, Debbie, she's a server and giver now. Okay, she is a pet rescuer. So when you talk about coming from a family of serving and giving that checks off that Haufer, that's what John Michael Schmitz does for us. Let's move on to tight ends. When I think of University of Minnesota, I think tight ends. I think line and I think tight ends, right? And we have one of the best in the state of Minnesota. Nathan Bursch, 6'5", 235 pounds, from Woodbury High School right down the road, coached by Andy Hill. #1 tight end in the state of Minnesota, kind of becoming a theme, doing everything we can to get the top prospects out of not only just Minnesota, but surrounding states. Number 45 tight end in the nation. He's a two-way player, plays offense, plays defense. He's part of keeping the best talent inside the state of Minnesota. Very proud to have him part of our recruiting class. Next, Jake Paulson. This kid is just absolutely fearless. Fearless. We recruited him with a former stop that I was at, and this young man went on a trip to LSU, was going to have a trip to LSU. They canceled it late. They got a commitment from another tight end. This kid is a special player. He really is. State champion. Both parents retired Navy pilots, and now they fly commercial. His dad, Carl, served in the Gulf War. He talked again about serving and giving. These people understand, and these players know about service. Right? He went to Christian Academy of Louisville, Kentucky, coached by Stephen LaFleurs. Helped lead his team to a 14-1 record and a state championship. And like I told you before, he's a #1 ranked tight end in the state of Kentucky. Let's move on to Nate Umler, tight end, Allendale High School from Allendale, Michigan, coached by Coach Burke. This kid was, again, two-way player. Caught 12 passes for 214 yards, 6 touchdowns, 68 tackles, 26 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks. Scout listed him as a number 107th recruit in the Midwest. This kid, again, this young man came to camp. He probably set the unofficial record for unofficial visits to an institution ever. He probably visited the former place we were at to get to know us more and more and more, probably at least 18 to 19 times before today. Think about that for a second. Getting to know a young man 18 to 19 times to check off all those things on that list. And he'll be honest with you, he'll tell the story too. Coach, I came 18 to 19 times because I wanted to see that your energy and the way you were was exactly real every time. And he ended up committing, so you can go ahead and answer that. But he has that unconquerable will. He is truly a how competitor. 3-sport athlete, followed the culture, came with us, sight unseen too. I think that's a compliment to these players, to the culture now here at the University of Minnesota, and to the University of Minnesota's academia. This young man knew exactly what he was getting before he even got here, didn't need to see it. It's like buying a car being blindfolded, had no idea what you're buying, you just buy it because you have that trust in that salesperson. And I'm really, really proud of him for making that decision. He's an incredible person, and really got to know a lot about him through the past few months. Let's move on to running backs. On our football team right now, we have 2 elite running backs right now. And Rodney and Shannon are working their tail ends off. We had a winter workout the other day, and I was really impressed with the way those 2 led and the way they worked. But let's talk about the 2 young men that we're bringing in. Mohammed Ibrahim, Our Lady of Good Counsel High School in Olney, Maryland, coached by Coach Malloy. We've had ties out in the D.C. area for a very long time. He rushed 206 times for 1,300 yards. Watch this kid's highlight tape. If you come later on, you're going to see it. This kid is explosive. He's a mix. This is going to sound crazy. Please don't sit there and say, well, you compared this guy to this guy. I'm saying similar, so you paint a picture in your mind, okay? A Barry Sanders kind of make you miss, right? But then a Christian Okoye to run you over. And he's not that big. He's only 5'9", but he's 205 pounds. This kid can make you miss at the second level, but he also can put his shoulder down and run you over. It's one of the more impressive high school running back films I've watched by a young man. He's sneaky. He's elusive. He's powerful, and he's courageous. His dad, Mo, is an elite soccer player, so when you kind of think of where he gets his footwork, it comes from his dad. He's a top 35 running back, according to Rivals and 24/7 Sports. Again, running backs, if you look at our system, we need to have elite running backs. And you can't just have one or two. You got to have a plethora of running backs. One thing Jim Tressel taught me going through Ohio State at the time I was there was, PJ, if you ever become a head coach, you can't have enough running backs. And I think he's 100% true on that. Let's move on. Dominic London, running back, 5'9", 195 pounds, out of East Ridge High School in Woodbury, Minnesota, coached by Dan Fritzy. 610 career times for 3,916 yards, 41 touchdowns, extremely productive back, and an incredible human being. He's like a water bug with strength. Named first team All-State as a junior. Number 1 running back in the state of Minnesota. Again, keeping Minnesota kids here, period. In-state talent, and went on to the state championship his junior year. All right, we're going to move on to wide receivers. We took 3 wide receivers in this class. The first one I'll talk about, Chris Ottman-Bell, is a game changer. He's 6'1", 180 pounds. I'll tell you a quick story about him after I tell you his high school. From Bishop McNamara High School in Kankakee, Illinois, coached by Coach Zanani. I'll tell you a quick story about this young man. He came to camp. We knew he was going to be absolutely elite. It'd be a tough time getting him at the former place we were at. He came to camp, lit it up. I'm talking, this kid has hands that I've really never even seen. The last time I saw hands like this, Mohamed Sanu, who's going to play in the Super Bowl with the Atlanta Falcons coming up. Very similar body control. Kid is a freaky athleticism. Then he goes ahead and tears a ligament in his finger. Well, he calls me and said, Coach, I got bad news. Beginning of the senior year, I tore a ligament in my finger. I said, well, what's the bad news? I'm not going to play. I said, well, what's really the bad news? Figured I could hide him for 11 more weeks. And it didn't. He didn't have many offers. We came here as one of the first calls because he is that explosive. Phenomenal person. Another Halford, Jim Rat. He's one of those guys at camp. He goes, takes a rep. He comes right back, cuts in line, and continues to go. He's not one of those guys that hide in the back. He couldn't wait to compete for the next rep. Those are the guys that I work really well with. Number 4 receiver in the state of Illinois, and the number 87 player in the Midwest. Also won a state title, true champion. Really happy to have Chris on our football team. Next, Demetrius Douglas, wide receiver, 6 foot, 175 pounds. From Portland, Oregon, Jesuit High School. And Coach Potter's the head football coach there. Helped the team to a 26-1 record, right? His junior and senior year, including a state title as a junior. Top 10 recruit in the state of Oregon. His father, a lot of you probably know who he is, Omar Douglas. Set the Big Ten record for the number of touchdowns in a game with 5. I think it still stands, against Purdue. And this is a young man that's Mr. Everything. He's going to play wide out here. You could possibly see him on the defensive side of the ball. You could possibly see him return punts. Very explosive. But again, talent from the state of Minnesota that left the state of Minnesota to go leave and still wanted to come back to the state of Minnesota at the University of Minnesota to continue his college education and football experience. But this man is, he's special. He's Mr. Everything. We're really, really excited about him and getting him here. Both mom and dad, obviously, I told you earlier, are alums. Harry Van Dyne, wide receiver, 6'5", 185 pounds. Blue Valley High School, Stillwell, Kansas. Coach Driscoll is his head football coach. 67 catches, 1,096 yards, 12 touchdowns as a senior. Top 10 recruit in the state of Kansas. First team all-conference at wide receiver, named to the 2016 All-Simone team. Recognizes the best players in the Kansas City metro area. That will be a hotbed for us in recruiting. Just so everybody knows, as we continue to move forward, that will be one of the major areas within that 7-8 hour radius as we continue to go out to hit all the major cities within that can get here without flying and continue to come back here multiple times. This guy's a downfield threat. Lots of speed, incredible hands. Dad played wide receiver at Michigan. His dad's name was Yale. And I think he's one of the steals of the class. I'll be honest with you, had a lot of people and a lot of offers late. A lot of people came in on this young man. And anytime you're 6'5", 185 pounds, and you're that elite of a young man, not only just in grades, but a 3-sport athlete, this is a young man we knew, again, at our prior stop that figured, hey, if we get a shot in the Big Ten, this is one that we would actually bring with us if we could find a way to get him committed. And I thought our coaches did an outstanding job. Matt Simon did a tremendous job recruiting him. So did Kirk Schrock, our offensive coordinator. Let's move on to quarterbacks. Obviously, losing a senior quarterback, that's one of the biggest questions we have on our football team. I can't sit there and say the answer's in one of these or the answer's with somebody we have right now. I can't tell you that because I haven't worked with anybody specifically at the University of Minnesota being a true quarterback yet. I can't answer that question. So it's probably one of the better open competitions in the country, who's going to play at quarterback. And as we continue to move forward into 18, same thing. So we've got to be able to find a quarterback that can lead us into the future as well. We'll start with Ray Estes, quarterback, 6 foot, 170 pounds, East St. Louis High School in East St. Louis, Illinois. Coach Sunkitz is high school coach, legendary coach, Hall of Fame type coach, numerous state championships down there. Quarterback to 14-0 state championship team. And team's full of playmakers. This kid is explosive. He's in a phone booth with speed. You can't touch him in a phone booth, then you get him out of the phone booth, you never catch him. Never catch him. This guy is a 4-4 type talent, hard worker, really good student. And again, first one to go to college in his family. Starting point guard on the basketball team. His sister's in the National Guard, again, serving and giving. His mom was so excited he came to Minnesota that she dyed her hair maroon, just so everybody knows. So she's that dedicated. And that was even before signing day. So at that point, we've kind of felt, well, I think he's committed. I think it's truly committed because I don't know how many hair colors she's going to sit there and go back and forth on. But this kid is, first team All-State, number 2 ranked quarterback in the state of Illinois, number 30 ESPN dual ranked quarterback in the country. He's not that tall. He's 5'11", 6 foot, but this kid can throw it. He's got a huge arm, incredibly elusive. But again, he has the ability to play a lot of different things as well. This kid is going to be used on our football team somehow, some way, but he's coming in as a quarterback to help us. Neil McLaurin, quarterback, 6'2", 195 pounds. This was one of the a JUCO early signee that we inherited. He enrolled in January. Last 2 years at Southwest Mississippi Community College, and Coach Peavy is the head football coach there. Haven't had a ton of chance to work with him. Watched his film, like his arm, and now we look forward to teaching him how to become a really decisive decision maker. And there's nobody better at doing that than Coach Shiraka, our quarterback coach. Tanner Morgan, quarterback. 6'2", 205. Again, enrolled here in January. Was committed to this at the former stop right up into literally like 2 days before school started. And you talk about a tense situation and real tense times where a family, when you take a job and you leave, that kid's going to start school in about 36 hours. Do I start school here? Do I go somewhere else? Are you going to take me with you? Do I have to stay here? Do I want to stay here? Do I want to come to Minnesota? This kid's from Ryle High School in Union, Kentucky. Coach Engler's the head football coach. His dad, Ted, also coached him. Passed for 2,747 yards, 27 touchdowns, and his team finished 12-1. Finalist for Mr. Kentucky Football Award. Scout ranked him as the number 2 quarterback in Kentucky, number 8 quarterback in the Midwest. One of only a few Kentucky high school quarterbacks to pass for more than 10,000 yards. What we love about this young man is he is an incredible, decisive decision maker and incredibly accurate. Very smart student of the game, and he's a gym rat. If your quarterback's a gym rat and he's a leader and he makes everybody else around him better, that's something really, really special. He was also in the semis of the Elite 11 stuff. So really happy to have Tanner and his whole family become Gophers. Let's move to the defensive line. Defensive line was a need. I'm going to let all of you know into a little bit secret. We don't have a redshirt freshman, sophomore, and there's one junior on the roster at defensive tackle. And I know a lot of you probably know more about that than I do. But that's an issue that we needed to address now, and that's another issue we will address and fix in 2018. So I'll already give you a little bit of tidbit. For 18, we're going to take probably 60 linemen. Okay, that's what we're going to do. And then because we just don't, after we lose our 3 D tackle seniors, there's one guy on the roster as of today that's a D tackle. Okay, first of all, you have to play with 2 just inside, and then you have to have backups. And we don't have those yet. So this was a major need. Hardest position to find in college football and the National Football League, let alone find them in 2.5 weeks. But we feel like we have a lot of guys that come in that's going to help us because, again, of their how, the type of men these young men are. Noah Hickox, defensive line, 6'4", 285 pounds. What I love about him is his response. Okay, he's from Boylan Central Catholic in Rockford, Illinois. Coach Cacciatore is the head football coach, and I talked about his response, his courage. He's full of passion. Let me tell you a quick story. So his father, Luke, passes away to cancer, and that happened in September. Got a waiver through the NCAA to provide and to be able to at least go to the funeral. It's how much this kid means to me personally. And the first game back after his dad died, which was very difficult for him, this is the type of kid who didn't sit out. Wanted to play it. Dad knew that it was the best thing for him to play. He knew that. And kid goes out there as a defensive lineman, gets a pick six for a touchdown, gets a safety, has 4 sacks, has a 2-point conversion for a touchdown. You talk about a special game for a defensive lineman, right? The first game back after your father passes away, who really is everything to you. This is the type of young man that's coming into this program. Scout had him listed as the number 7 defensive end in the state of Illinois. I don't care what they had him ranked. I don't care what star he was. I'll be honest with you. I haven't talked about 1 star yet. I was a -2 star, guys. Okay, and I've somehow found a way to play in the National Football League, right? But what I do want to talk about is that type of player and type of person that's going to come in here and give everything he has for the University of Minnesota. I think everybody's going to really enjoy him. He has a 3.6 GPA, heck of a student athlete. I think he's going to represent the University of Minnesota, our row the boat culture in Ski U Ma in the first-class fashion. Let's move on. Asezi Odamewo, okay, we just call him Big O. If you see him, just call him Big O. Makes it a lot easier. Okay, 6'6", 235 pounds, from Ben Davis High School in Indianapolis, Indiana. Coach Kirshner's his head football coach, very, very popular head football coach, and an elite program in the state of Indiana. Number 1 ranked defensive end in Indiana. I told you he's 6'6", 235, and if you walked in here, you would think he's 200 pounds. Just wait till this kid's 275, and he's playing defensive end here in the Big Ten. He's got an extremely high ceiling. Only played football for 3 years. This young man is still learning how to play the game. It's like a young deer, right? I can't wait for Bryce Popp. When you guys get around Bryce Popp, the 11-year NFL vet who's our defensive line coach and was player of the year in the National Football League as a defensive lineman, gets a hold of him and can develop into the prospect that we need him to become. So, and just so you guys know, he's the same high school as Marquise Gray. So just so everybody knows who's tight end for the Dolphins. Boye Mafe, D-line. Defensive end, 6'4", 220 pounds, twitch, and is a very, very high ceiling with incredible potential. From Hopkins High School in Minnetonka, Minnesota, coached in Hardog, is his head football coach. Got a chance to spend some time with Coach when I first became an assistant coach. He's still there. We have a great relationship. And had 78 tackles, 10 tackles for a loss, and 4 sacks. The key to an elite defense is elite pass rushers. If you can get to the quarterback and not give him much time, you got a shot, and he gives us the ability to do that. He was an all-star team. He was all Metro defensive honors, all-state second team, and the number 1 defensive end in the state of Minnesota. Again, keeping guys home, keeping guys home. Let's move on to Malcolm Robinson, defensive line, 6'3", 280 pounds, 3.2 GPA, out of Washington High School in Massillon, Ohio. You know, obviously Massillon, Ohio being a football hotbed in recruiting. Coached by Nate Moore. He was named to the 2016 AP All-Northeast football team and the 2016 All-State Special Mention honors, number 4 defensive tackle in the state of Ohio. This kid is incredibly smart, and he's a wonderful leader. When he walks in, you get a chance to be around him. Got a huge smile on his face all the time. Makes you better every time you're around him. And he's infectious. He's positive all the time. He's going to make you feel really good about yourself by just standing around. We actually got him flipped from another a Big Ten institution. But he's always smiling. He's a two-way player right now. This guy quotes me, "Coach, I just can't wait to help you win a championship." And when people say that and they have that vision and they lock in on that vision, the same as you got something special going on. Again, multi-sport athlete. Let's move on to, I think, the sleeper of the class. Okay, and again, you talk about stars. I'm not a big star guy. But when you talk about him, this kid's amazing, all right? Austin Shirk, defensive line, 6'5", 270 pounds. If you want his exact height and weight, it's 6'0", 267 pounds. Okay, and arms that go down and touch his ankles, all right? From Carroll High School in Carroll, Iowa, Coach McCartan is his head football coach. Helped lead his team to a 12-1 record, including a 9-0 mark in conference play. He had 15.5 tackles for a loss, 9.5 sacks, and forced 4 fumbles. All-state first team in the state of Iowa. He's special. That's all I have to say. He went to 2 camps. I think he went to North Dakota State, and then he went to Northern Iowa. He didn't get invited to any other camp. I don't know how he got out of that state. And I tell you what, I'm glad he did. Because this kid, I'm telling you, as of right now, again, hasn't played it down, haven't worked with him at all. By what I see and what I've heard, and from what Coach Bryce Popp, who actually recruited him at Northern Iowa, got him to commit, has a huge relationship with him and a special relationship with him. When he says this kid's going to be special, I believe him. He's one of the greatest defensive players of all time in NFL history. And when they tell you that, you kind of listen to it. And this kid is a very, very special young man. He got offered, committed on the spot, couldn't wait to play in the Big Ten. Been his ultimate dream. And I know that he's going to give everything he has every single day. Very similar to me, living a dream. He's going to be living a dream. You're going to get a lot out of him. Royal Silver, defensive line, 6'3", 285 pounds from Iowa Western Community College. Coach Strohmeyer is the head football coach at Iowa Western. Run stopper. But he's not only a run stopper, he's a pass rusher at the same time. We needed to get defensive tackles. And this is a young man that can come in and help us. I'll be honest with you. You're not going to ever see me really recruit 20 junior college players in a class. But when we have to fill a void and you have one underclassman defensive tackle in the entire program, we need somebody that at least come in with some experience right away. So, again, we're going to break that cycle eventually. I am a high school recruiter and develop them from the ground up, from the minute they get there till the minute they leave, and then 40 years after. That's my philosophy as we keep moving. But, again, this young man was first-team All-ICCAC and earned second-team NJCAA All-American honors. And, again, he attended Washington High School in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, before going to Iowa Western. Let's go to defensive backs. Obviously, with some of the things that are going on, right, there's who knows how many defensive backs we'll have, okay, going into even spring ball and then next season, right? So when I talk about needs, we had to hit needs. And these are some of the things we had to be able to hit. So we were able to get 3 defensive backs, and I don't think we missed on any of them. So when you start talking about quality instead of quantity, we have a lot of needs on the football team, and you only have 25. So to be able to address all those needs, and when you have major holes in different things, you got to fix them quickly. But you can't fix them with the wrong people, or you got them for 4 or 5 years, and that can destroy a program. So what we have to do is find the right people. We believe these guys are. Okay, first of all, one of the most versatile players in the state of Texas, Adam Beck, 6'2", 185 pounds, from George Ranch High School in Richmond, Texas, near Houston. Coach Tulos is his head football coach, and we got a chance to go down there, spend some time with them. You can tell why they are state champions. A few years ago, it was one of the worst programs in the state of Texas, and boom, they're state champions just like that. 6A District 23 All-District Honors in 2016, won the Texas State Championship, and 5A is junior year. Number safety in the state of Texas. That's what he was ranked, the number 7 safety in the state of Texas. And this young man is very versatile. He can play safety. He can play corner. He's done both. So wherever we need him to play and fill in, he can do that. And that's why he gave us the versatility. Justice Harris, DB, 5'10", 175 pounds, Roswell High School in Roswell, Georgia, coached by Coach Ford. Led the team to a 14-1 record and a trip to the state championship. Earned 2016 first team All-Region honors. Recorded 71 career tackles and 6 interceptions. This young man has a 43-inch vertical. So when you talk about him only being 5'10", he's got a 43-inch vertical. So the kid plays 6'3", right? So when you talk about an explosive playmaker, he's tough. He's kind of like Mighty Mouse with buttery hips. Is that a picture for you? Mighty Mouse with buttery hips. This young man's tough. And he's one of those guys that's an overachiever. And when you watch his highlight tape, you watch his film, he's not afraid to put his face on anybody. And he has incredible cover skills and obviously incredible explosion. High academic kid, 3.3 GPA. And then, again, 28-2 as a high school player. So you talk about an elite player in terms of understands how to win. He knows how to win. And, he's part of the, I will say this, he's part of the 1,000-pound club. So, again, good things come in small packages. He's a 43-inch vert, but he's also part of the 1,000-pound club in 3 lifts. 3 lifts, 1,000 pounds. That's a lot. That's a lot. So, again, that's over 300 in pretty much all of them. So, the clean, the squat, and the bench. Let's move on to Ken Handy Holly, defensive back, 6'2", 205 pounds, out of Alabama, Jackson High School. Coach Powell's the head football coach. His dad, Coach Lev, also coaches. 72 tackles, 32 solos, 6 pass breakups, 4 interceptions, and he went to the 5A state semifinals. Forced 3 fumbles, recorded 1 fumble, made 36 receptions, 700 yards, 5 touchdowns, rushed for 23 times, 321 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Alabama Sports Writer Association All-State First Team honoree in 16 and 15. 4-star recruit. There, I gave you a star. I know everybody loves those. And number 1 safety in the state of Alabama. The only person we were really worried about coming in late is, you could probably figure, being in the state of Alabama, being the number 1 safety, you kind of figure one school you have to worry about. And never came in, didn't have to worry about him, and we're happy we didn't have to. This kid is a smooth, heavy hitter. He's already got a nickname of Candy Handy, and we've got a bunch of marketing things already ready for him in terms of candy being passed out in the stands and all types of things when he makes big hits. So he's got a lot to live up to, but one of the top players in the state of Alabama, and 21 interceptions throughout his entire career, ball hawk, and again, very, very, very blessed to have him in our culture. And I think the culture will be really good for him, too, as we keep moving. Move on to linebackers. We really only took one. We love where we're at linebacker. 2018, we'll probably take 3 linebackers, but right now I love where we're at. Young guys like Kamal Martin and Carter Coughlin, talk about pure leadership already when you walk into a football team. I will say that. I thought the staff before me did a tremendous job of bringing those types of players in. I'm very impressed with those 2 guys, and I'm proud of their leadership and the way they work. Trenton Guthrie, 6'3", 215-pound linebacker. He came to Minnesota in January. He's one of our early enrollees that we had recruited from Western Michigan University. Coach Massey is a head football coach there at Northville. 26 tackles for loss, 11 sacks, named to the Detroit News All-Metro West second team. And Scout had him ranked as the 3rd outside linebacker in the state of Michigan. Early enrollee, like I said, high academics, 3'6". He already put on 10 pounds. That's how quick it happens. Been here 2.5, 3 weeks, 10 pounds on him with the strength program with Coach Nickel here. And this kid is a howfer. And this kid brings pure culture to the University of Minnesota. Remember my definition of culture. I'm not changing all this type of culture and changing things. Culture means connecting people, right? Connecting people in a new way of doing things. When a head coach comes in, they have a new way, and that's all we're talking about. We'll talk about kicker punter. This is one of my favorite players, okay, because any type you have a kicker and a punter at this magnitude, you're doing something right. So Grant Ryers is a 6'2", 200-pound elite kicker, punter, kickoff guy from Woodbury, Minnesota, coached by Dan Fritzy, a 4-year starter at kicker and punter, first-team All-State 2015-16, ranked as the number 4 kicker in the entire country. He's got a 4.13 GPA. So not only is he an elite kicker, he's an elite smart kicker, right? 1XL for top performers in leadership. This young man's already set up a charity on his own. This type of young man that's coming into this culture now, and he's raised over $5,000. So when you start talking about, again, serving and giving, that's who's coming into this culture, and very, very proud to have this entire class here. So with that said, like I said before, we're very honored to present to you the 25 new Golden Gophers that are going to set the tone for the new era of Gopher football as we move forward. And I'm sure you have a lot of questions, so we'll open it up maybe for a little bit, Paul, and give these guys the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to answer or ask some questions.
When you guys, at one point you had 28 committed and ended up at 25, what was your philosophy about that in terms of you've got some suspensions that you might have to deal with, but just using several now, and if you would have waited till next year, you could have maybe spent it on guys you'd had more time to study?
Well, we still have a few left that we're possibly going to hold on to until after the spring, because, man, you only have so many amount of initial scholarships. Okay, so you might have room on the 85, but if you're full at 25 initials, you can't bring anybody in, doesn't matter. Right, 25 initials. So we still have 1 or 2 of those left that we were really looking at that we wanted to save. There were some guys that were committed to us academically that we had to wait for some things to happen, and then knew that possibly they weren't committed to us anymore. Now, that wasn't public knowledge, and we can't talk about them. And they stayed committed, and they looked committed to everybody else. But again, there were some opportunities we gave to others about, hey, we can't sign you right now. However, if you make it towards the end, we'll sign you. We have room, that decided to go somewhere else. I don't blame them for that. That could possibly be propped or things like that someplace else. But in the Big Ten rules, you can't do that. So we had to make some decisions late. But again, we wanted to still save 1 or 2 here that we can do something with that can address a need. So again, we're going to keep that open as we keep moving forward.
PJ, what's your general philosophy on playing freshmen, and how much of that did you talk about with some of these guys about the ability to possibly play right away if they were to come here?
Yeah, I'll be 100% honest with you. We had 4 years at Western Michigan, and the last 4 years, Western Michigan had the Freshman Player of the Year. 4 years in a row. 2 were wideouts, 2 were running backs. So that is proof of freshmen playing early. Like I told you before, I told everybody I love to hire coaches that have failed and that have grown from their failing. Right? Because that's the only way you truly grow. I love guys that have responded in a very elite way. And same thing when it comes to that. I love to play freshmen. You've got to fail before you succeed. I mean, if you think you're just going to come in there as a junior and senior and just be an All-American right away, again, I don't think that happens unless you're truly, truly an elite talent. Most freshmen need to come in and kind of look around and feel it and experience and fail. And like I said, the reason why we were 13-0 at Western Michigan going into the Cotton Bowl is because we started 1-11. A lot of those guys that led us in that football team had to go through in a 1-11 year by playing and starting. That's tough. That's tough, but it pays off in the long run because you can embrace your past to create your future. If you got nothing to draw from back there, it's going to be difficult if your time is short towards the end. We want to give those elite experiences now. You know, and any recruit that wants to come to University of Minnesota, if you don't want to play early, do not come here.
Coach, when you look at Demetrius Douglas, it seems like he's an interesting prospect because of his legacy here and how the previous staff tried to recruit him. Can you take us in the living room there and what you tried to do to sell him to come to Minnesota, especially because he had interest from Oregon and Notre Dame and such?
Yeah, I think he was already committed to in Oregon before we actually got there, and then obviously Notre Dame came in later, and we had the home visit with him and got a chance to to be around Adrian and to be around Omar and really get to know them on a personal level. Because just because the dad played at University of Minnesota doesn't mean you're going to get the kid, right? So we had to be able to talk through, okay, let's go through step by step. Day one is your son gets on campus all the way through the last day he leaves and graduates and then gets his job, right? And then he goes on or he plays in the National Football League. I think it was just being able to give him the exact vision of what it's going to look like. And then being real, because I'm not for everybody. And I know that. And I'm okay with that because I'm as real as it gets. But I think they wanted that type of energy level and passion instilled into their son on a daily basis. And some people are a little fearful of that because if you don't want to become elite, excellent, great, whatever you guys want to talk about, we talk about being elite, right? Then in every area of your life, in all four of those areas, then don't come to University of Minnesota because you are going to be challenged every day to fail on a daily basis in all four of those. I'm not saying catastrophic failing. I'm just saying failing. Get to a point where, okay, hey, I got to get better at this tomorrow, and then just continue to change your best. And I think that's what they really liked. They had a familiarity with the Twin Cities, and I think that helped as well. I think all along they really wanted him here, but they wanted him to make the decision, and he had to feel comfortable with the staff. And I think that was one of the biggest things was that he's going to make the decision. And I really give those two parents a lot of credit because they let him make the decision. And it wasn't a bunch of flash, and you couldn't show him this and show him that because you only had 2.5 weeks. But he was one of the first calls we had, especially with our relationship in wide receivers. Me being a former NFL wide receiver and NFL wide receiver coach, and Matt Simon playing in the NFL as wide receiver, Coach Shiraka coaching Joe Flacco and developing him. So I think that really helped as well, that you could give proof. And I think that's what you needed at this late in the game. You needed proof. Look, we've done it. Here's where we've done it at. Now, again, here's the process for year 1 and year 4. Here's what it is. And then you go from there.
Coach, in 25 days, do you think you were able to address the needs that you had in this football team, or is that almost unfair to ask for a new staff coming in?
Well, I will say this, is that I think 2.5 weeks, fair or not fair, it is what it is. I decided to take the job. I knew exactly how long it was to signing day, right? I knew the challenges, but that's what inspired me to take the job were the challenges of that short time frame, the holes that we had to fill, and what we were going to have to be able to do in that 2.5 weeks to even address issues. There's some people that say, forget the issues, we'll get it in 18. We'll just make year 1 what year 1 is, right? I'm not that way. Now, did I sit there and say we got 15 5-stars and went out there and turned the world upside down? No. We got the right fit for our needs. Now, would I like to have 8 more scholarships? You bet. Give me 8 more, and I would be able to say yes to that question. Maybe. Because if I got the 8, I'd probably want 4 more somehow, some way, right? But to me, I think we did the best we possibly could have done, knocked it out of the park for the time frame we had and the resources we were given, and again, the needs that had to be addressed.
PJ, when you look at the way some of your Big Ten rivals are recruiting now nationally, there's going to be 3 probably finishing in the top 10. How much does recruiting have to really be the focal point of what you do every day here?
It's everything, everybody. I'm going to make this very clear. You're part of the recruiting process. I'm here to connect people. And people can say whatever they want about the media in the last 50 years, and here's why. And I get everything. Everybody talks to the head coach. I get a lot of information. Everybody can talk about the media, but it's all about us connecting. We're all, hopefully, for the University of Minnesota football program. We are. I think we all want to see it have incredible success. And that's why I am so positive, because success comes to positive people. positive communities, energetic and positive alum. That's where it comes to. We are all in this together. And that's what I love about it. I look forward to that challenge with everybody in this room. There's going to be people that like me and don't like me. That's okay. But recruiting is going to take this entire city, the Twin Cities, our state of Minnesota, everybody rowing the boat in the same direction, same speed, same efficiency. And it might seem weird at the beginning. And I'm not saying you have to be pro me, but I think we have to be looking at it as when we talk about a national recruiting base, we're all in this together. And that's what we're going to become. That is what I really dream of the University of Minnesota becoming. That's why I told you this is a dream come true, because it's a challenge. And with all due respect, 50 years since a Big Ten championship. Well, I can't wait till we win that. But it's going to take a national recruiting base. It's going to take national recruits. It's going to have to take a lot of players to break a trend and a cycle, a lot. Of now the University of Minnesota is the hotbed for recruiting. Well, how did that happen? That shouldn't be. That's never been. Why? No way. There's going to be a lot of shock and surprise as we move forward. But that's what I have the energy to do. And that has been my mission and my goal since the day I walked in those doors at the University of Minnesota, all by myself with no staff, to provide a vision of something that everybody in this room, somewhere in the back of your mind, in the back of your heart, back of your soul, I don't know, back of your neck, truly, truly want for our football program and desire and dream of. That's why I'm here. So, yes, we want to. I mean, I don't know what we were ranked. Scout had us like 34th or something. We had 2.5 weeks to recruit. I can't wait. We've already started on 18 guys, and we've already started on 19. We were on the phone with 18s and 19s today. It was phenomenal. The minute we were done with 17. Recruiting is everything in this program. But like I said before, it's not just recruiting student athletes to come to the University of Minnesota. I mean, one of the most famous people in the room is Sid right in front of me. I got to do everything I can to recruit Sid more, right? To believe that this program and this culture that we're bringing here to form even more tradition is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Same thing with our players on our roster right now. Change is hard. There's going to be people that love our culture. There's going to be people that end up possibly leaving because they just don't fit. But change is hard for everybody. But it's my job to connect everyone. And that's what I said in my opening statement. That's recruiting everyone. That's not selling anyone on anything. I think recruiting and sales are two different things. Recruiting is relationship driven. I'm not selling a product. I'm building relationships with people, and so are my staff. And so are our players. So, yes, to answer your question, sorry, it's not just yes. I'm a little bit different than that. Obviously, you can tell. I have a passion for this place, and this place has allowed me to live my dream, and that has been my dream. Wherever I get to at the Power Five, to lead them to national prominence, somehow, some way, and national attention. But you have to do that with national-type players and national-type Gophers, as we call them.
How do you decide how to delegate, when you coach your coaches as to how to recruit and who to recruit then, how do you decide how to delegate your time if you're trying to go national and you need the Midwest ties and the good connections? How do you do that without spending too much time on kids you could miss on?
Well, the biggest thing is, like, our 8-hour radius is everything to us. The surrounding states are everything. And there's tons of national kids in that radius. We're talking close to 70% of our kids will come from that area. Then from there, we talk about, okay, Coach Simon, right? He recruits a certain area. So he's got the state of Minnesota. He's got some Jersey ties who's out there. He's got some other words. Then he has every receiver on that board. Plus, he's got all the top 25 wide receivers in the country. That's his recruiting base, right? So that's who he's responsible of. And when you do that, you cross-recruit. Okay, so I might have a top 10 recruit in my area, but Coach Simon is also going to recruit him. So then you all of a sudden have dual recruiters on the same guy. We have an incredible, extensive, detailed evaluation process that we go through to identify the right talent, not just the skill, and then find out through the right talent, which is the perfect talent for us. And again, whether that's national or not, I'm not saying we're going outside and just here we go, we'll take 25 kids from California. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying just a national, meaning national brand, national marketing. But if we can take 25 kids that can win us a national championship right here from the state of Minnesota, we'll do that. We're going to do whatever we have to do to make sure, with our beliefs in mind and our program in mind and our philosophies in mind, we're going to do what it takes. But this is going to be our area. That's 6, 7, 8 hour radius because we want people to come to campus a lot. And the only way to do this is when you drive, right? And so that's going to be our major recruiting hub.
Coach, now that you're here and you have the resources of a big Power 5 conference, is there anything special you look for trying to institute the culture and needing building blocks moving forward with this first class?
I think the biggest thing is we always want to continue to change, and we want to change forward. You know, we want to continue to change our best. If we want to continue, I'm not into keeping up with. I hate those words, keeping up with. You know, it reminds me of keeping up with the Joneses, or just keeping up with somebody, or keeping up and comparing yourself. Comparisons are going to take away your joy, period. So we're not here to compare ourselves to anybody else in the country. We're here to do the best we can possibly do with our resources, and also taking our resources to a completely different level than we've never, ever done before. And that's why I'm here. You know, I'm here to push the envelope. I'm here to be able to take the University of Minnesota football to somewhere where everybody's dreamed it, always wanted it to be. And I think that's what everybody truly wants. And that's what I'm here to do. And that's what I've dedicated my entire life to as of January 6th, I think is when I took the job. That is what my entire family, the Fleck family, and all of our Forget About Me, I Love You, the people in our football building have dedicated their entire life to make sure that happens. So to do that, we're going to have to do some things that are different. You know, if you continue to do the same things over and over and over and expect different results, that's insanity. That's insanity. I have a lot of energy, right? Now, I understand what I have to do to be able to get all those things. But again, I want to make sure everybody sees how we're winning through the process of this. Not just winning a game and losing a game, the winning through process. Look how we won on signing day today. Don't look at a number. Look how we won. Look at the needs. Look at how hard it was to fill the needs at each position, the right kids for that position, 2.5 weeks. And that's not for you to sit there and clap, but look at the process of winning that. And then we're going to go, let's go win winter conditioning. Let's go win our junior days. Let's get some of the greatest talent in the country here for our junior days in 2018. And then get some of those 19s that are top in the country also here for those, right? Unofficial visits. You know, let's start looking at spring ball. Let's go win spring ball. What do we have to do to get better? What have we never done before in spring ball, right? And then obviously moving on. That's what we want to continue to see, the process of winning, taking little wins at a time, capturing them, understanding them, and then changing it as we get back to it next year. We want to continue to grow higher. We're going to keep pushing the envelope here. I promise you that.
PJ, first
question, Sid? I'm doing elite. Thank you very much. That was the easiest question. Perfect.
PJ, thanks for the details on each of the players, by the way, for some feature stories we'll be writing. That helps. But one thing you brought up with Tanner Morgan was the 36-hour window, how tense that was. Can you give us any more, just like what you did to convince him at that point?
Well, first and foremost, anytime you leave a school, it's hard, and it's hard anyway. You got people that loved you, that now hate you. You got people that hated you all along, that told you so. You got people that hated you that now loved you that you were leaving. And you've got recruits that are disappointed they're not coming. You've got recruits that either don't want to come. You got recruits that want to come, and they're hanging by a thread. And they're sitting there, what's going to happen? But literally, you know, I got interviewed, I think it was Wednesday, but I didn't take the job officially until I think it was like 1 in the morning on Friday, like a Friday morning, like 1 to 1:30. And then all of a sudden you take the job, and you want to call everybody. You're taking this job. It's 1:30 in the morning, right? So you've got to wait, and then all of a sudden you start, you know, calling. I hit the ground running. I'm not going to wait. You know, I now work for the University of Minnesota, and I'm hired to make this the most elite institution I possibly can make it. And, you know, one of those first calls was to Tanner Morgan. Because, again, when you're going to take a quarterback, you want to take somebody that you know a lot about. And that's why we took Tanner. We know he was an incredible, decisive decision maker. He was accurate. He was a leader. You know, he's a champion. He's thrown for 10,000 yards. We've got to know him over the course of the last 14 months. And somebody that's going to step in that huddle and start talking, you want to know what they're going to talk about. He is pure culture through and through. But that's a very tense time for the family because you know they're tense. It's their son. This is all about student athletes now. This is about people. This isn't about PJ getting a job. This is about people's lives changing. And when you take a job, you hurt a lot of people because people are just disappointed that they don't have you anymore. But also there's recruits that don't have you either that wanted to come with you that you couldn't bring because it was the best thing for the University of Minnesota. Maybe not the best thing for me personally, but best for the University of Minnesota. And that's why it was so difficult when you had to sit there and say, who would I take, who would I not take? That's the hardest part. And you'd love to be able to talk to everybody. And that just wasn't able to happen. But I know it was tense. I know I can't tell you how many voice messages we had and texts and emails from everybody. Am I coming? Am I coming? And you have to do it the right way. You know, you don't want to talk to anybody prior. You want to do it the right way. I didn't talk to anybody, like I told you before, I think I told everybody here that, I told everybody I will not talk to anybody. I'm going to coach my team in the bowl game, period. And we had plenty of offers and calls to talk, and we never talked to anybody. We still stayed true to that. At the end of the Cotton Bowl, I knew nothing about University of Minnesota. I sat there and thought, well, we're getting ready to sign a new contract at Western Michigan. And that's how we went about it. And I'm just fortunate enough and thankful enough that, Mark Coyle thought highly enough of me and our staff and what we did at Western Michigan to bring us along. But incredibly tense. Thanks, everybody. Brother Boats, got you out. Sure. With you and I, or do you want me to talk in the mic?